Hi, this is another video about Star Dynasties, the game that I'm working on. Star Dynasties is a procedural narrative strategy game. If you'd like an introduction to the game, please check out the What is the Game Like video linked below. In this video, I'm going to talk about one of the more unique features of Star Dynasties, the moral system of its feudal society. As we talked about in previous videos, characters have opinions of each other. For example, if I bring up my character and another character, you'll see that they have an opinion of each other, and the game breaks down why that is so. Now I'm going to focus on the honor section here, which is the opinion one character forms of another based on their perception of how moral or immoral their actions in the past have been, even if those actions didn't directly affect them. So for example, if this character were to murder someone, I would think less of her, even if it had nothing to do with me. So let's take another example. I'm going to click on a ruler in my faction, and you can see that one of the actions I can do is to depose them, i.e. try to replace them with another character. But the game warns me that there are moral consequences to that actions, and it tells me that if I try to do that, I'm breaking a moral rule, which is respecting the right of a ruler to rule their system. And if I were to try to do that, everyone in the world who's aware of that would think less of me. But it's not as simple as that. For example, if I were to pick another ruler in my faction, let's take this chap in Alcor here, if I try to depose him, you'll see that the moral consequence of this action is lower than the moral consequence of trying to depose the other ruler. And the game will tell me why. It will tell me that I'm still breaking the same rule, but in this case there's a mitigating circumstance. This ruler does not have a right to rule their system. They don't have a claim to it. So, in the moral calculus of this world, the court of public opinion will go, well, that's fair enough. He doesn't have as much of a right to rule. So, the moral consequences for me would be lower. And if I were to pick the third ruler in my faction here, and I look at the same action, we'll see that it actually would be a much stronger immoral act to depose this ruler. And once again, the game shows me the moral calculus behind this. I'd still be breaking the rule to respect a ruler's right to their system, but she happens to be my mother-in-law. So now I'm breaking another rule, which is the very strong rule in this culture to help out your kin and to not hurt them. So the public would think significantly less of me if I deposed my mother-in-law than if I deposed this ruler with whom I have no affiliation and who doesn't even have a legal right to rule their system. But it gets more interesting than this, because this society will also remember your actions, and that means that when you commit an immoral act, there are implications for future actions as well. So as an example, let's take a look at this Archon of this nearby league. So this character is the Archon of this nearby league, and one of the actions I can take is I can demand vassalage from him. Now, because I have no justification to do so, this is an immoral act, and the game shows me that I'm breaking a rule, which is don't go to war, don't threaten anyone with war, and it's reinforced because he's the head of a league. Now, but I happen to know something about this character, because you see, in the past, I sent my son-in-law to this character's house as an ambassador, and you can see he's dead because what's happened, although it's still a secret, no one's aware of that yet, he murdered him. Now, I know that secret. My security team have ferreted it out, and what I'm going to do here, I'm going to reveal that secret I'm going to reveal that he murdered my son-in-law. And now, in the court of public opinion, he's committed a significant crime. He's broken the rule, thou shalt not kill, and he's committed a crime. Now, because the crime was against my son-in-law, that gives me a justification now to take some drastic measures against him. And if I look again at that same action from before, demanding vassalage, you'll see that the moral implications, the moral consequences of doing that action are now significantly lower. I'm still breaking the rule about not going to war, but now it's mitigated because I'm doing so to get justice for the murder of my son-in-law. So you can begin to see how the moral system and political maneuvering interact, how I can take advantage of my enemy's missteps to punish them or to take advantage under the cloak of righteousness. But there's yet more to this. Now, this moral system is a rough justice, tooth for a tooth, eye for an eye system where if someone wrongs me, that gives me the right to wrong them back. As you could see with the action I could take against this Archon. But not everyone in this world will have the means to redress the grievances and the crimes that were committed against them. So sometimes what happens is that someone will come to you to ask you to redress those grievances. So what's happened in this game earlier is that there's been an interesting political development between the rulers of these two systems in my faction. So what happened is that this ruler married off their daughter to this ruler. And it all seemed to go well until he got tired of her and divorced her, which is a crime in this culture because marriage is such a fundamental building block for political alliances. So she didn't have the means to redress that crime, that insult against her. So she asked her father to help her get justice. Now, he also has limited means to punish that other ruler for this crime. He's come to me to ask me for justice. He's charged me with avenging the other ruler's crime. And these are his crimes. And you can see that I'm responsible to deliver justice on those crimes. And what does that do? That changes again the moral calculus of the actions I can take with respect to this character. If I go back and I take a look again at the action around deposing that ruler, you'll see that the moral consequences have changed. I'd still be breaking the rule about respecting their right to rule, but now I'm doing it to get justice for the crime that's been escalated to me to deliver justice on. And so I could take advantage of this now. For example, I could take advantage by installing a crony, a family member, as the ruler of Navi. So you can start to see how I can also take advantage of a very primitive system of justice in this society. In fact, as the game goes on and your league gets larger and the amount of subjects you have becomes larger, this becomes quite a central part to the game in the mid and late game, because you're going to have a lot of subjects that are trying to get you to weigh in, to give them justice for various grievances that have happened to them, and how you walk that political tightrope. How you make sure that you don't offend too many people, because you don't always want to punish your allies, for example. And how you deal with that, and how you deal with it effectively within the limited amount of time and focus you have in a turn, becomes an interesting challenge. So I hope this was an interesting overview of the moral system of Star Dynasties. If you're interested in the game, please follow me on Twitter or Facebook. And if you have any thoughts or feedback, please leave a comment below. I would love to hear it. Thank you.